Now, I'm not somebody who likes to laugh at the misfortune of others, but... Yeah, okay, that's a lie. I'm a football fan. I like nothing better than laughing at the misfortune of others. To me, it tastes sweeter than the nectar of the gods themselves. But sometimes the beautiful game throws up moments so gut-wrenching, so harrowing, that you would have to have a heart made of whatever the hell they carved that horrifying Ronaldo sculpture out of, not to have it break. I'm Adam Cleary, this is 442, and these are the 10 most heartbreaking moments in football history. Number 10, Schalke lose the title. For just 3 improbable minutes, Schalke thought they were going to win the most improbable of Bundesliga championships. Going into the final day of the 2000-2001 season, the German side were 3 points behind Bayern Munich, but crucially had a better goal difference. After beating Unterhaching, and apologies to any Germans who had to hear that, 5-3, word began to spread that Hamburg had somehow done them the ultimate favour and beaten Bayern 1-0. Celebrations for a first Schalke title win for nearly 50 years began to sweep the stadium, but they were agonisingly premature. Despite Sergei Barbarez's 90th minute goal, Bayern rallied to score a 94th minute equaliser through Patrick Anderson, thus snatching the title back from Schalke in the last possible minute. And despite another 4 second place finishes since then, their wait for that first domestic championship since 1958 goes on. Number 9, Gareth Southgate's penalty. England's Euro 96 run on home turf raised hopes once more, 6 years on from reaching the Final Four at the World Cup, that a major tournament win could be in the offing. Or to translate that sentence into its more commonly used form, people thought that it might be, as the prophecy foretold, finally coming home. However, for all that song is ingrained in English footballing culture, so too is getting beaten on penalties. In semi-finals against Germany. After a run of what are, fair play, some of the most comprehensively scored penalties you're ever going to see in your life, the teams moved into sudden death at 5-5. Up steps Gareth Southgate, visibly having all the confidence of a child that's just gotten a fright off the dog, and weakly side-foots his effort into a gleeful German goalkeeper. Now, the thing is, players miss penalties and shootouts all the time, and English players with stunning regularity, in fact, but what was different here was that you could immediately see the impact this had on him. Watching him break down under the Wembley floodlights that night moved pretty much the entire country to tears. Number 8, Clough's final season. I'm a happy man, protested a tearful Brian Clough on the day Forest were relegated from the Premier League. Happiness comes from the inside. I'm a good socialist, I'm a good dad, I'm a good granddad, I'm happy. For the uninitiated, Clough had turned Nottingham Forest from second division strugglers into back-to-back European champions. But as the game had moved on into the 90s, it had sort of began to pass him by, and he ultimately retired in a manner nobody wanted to see. They finished rock bottom of the Premier League's inaugural season, and seeing one of the nation's greatest managers ever almost move to tears was tough for fans of any club to take. If you haven't seen the particular clip in question though, don't worry, because Michael Sheen's only about 10 years away from aging into a sequel to The Damned United. Number 7, Ajax's late collapse. Yeah, fair play, you were probably spectacularly not bothered if you're a Spurs fan, but Ajax became the neutrals' darlings during the 2018-2019 Champions League. Erik ten Hag's youthful, exciting side battled all the way from the second qualifying round to the semi-finals, capturing the hearts and minds of romantics and tactics nerds alike. They knocked out Real Madrid and Juventus to get there and looked set to reach the final after going 3-0 up on aggregate against Tottenham. But the final 35 minutes of the tie proved disastrous as Lucas Moura, of all people, bagged an improbable hat-trick to win it for Spurs on away goals. Remember them? Brutally, this meant not only missing out on the final they deserved, but it killed off any lingering hopes the club might have had of keeping the squad together over the summer. Frankie de Jong, Matthijs de Ligt and Kasper Dolberg all departed for huge sums of money in the next few months because, well, it's a cruel old game. Number 6, the Carious Calamity. Unlike the Ajax collapse, this was one that even opposition fans, in this case Real Madrid, have openly admitted was a crying shame. Loris Karius inconsolable at the full-time whistle of the 2018 Champions League final after having 2 absolute howlers in a game that finished 3-1. First, and to be honest the word howler doesn't even do this justice, he rolled the ball directly onto Karim Benzema's foot for Madrid's opening goal. Later he would then allow a venomous but nonetheless directly at him Gareth Bale effort to wriggle through his hands for their third. And the real shame here is that in hindsight he clearly shouldn't have even been on the pitch. Moments before the first goal, a collision with Sergio Ramos, and I'm saying absolutely nothing there, was eventually diagnosed as having given him a concussion. However, instead of getting treatment or being substituted, he simply tried to play on with it and, well, let's watch that back again. you can tell. Number 5, a bin for a heart. Gianluigi Buffon has won everything there is to win in football except the Champions League. Therefore, in what was supposed to be his final season with Juventus, both he, the club, and pretty much every neutral in football was desperate for him to win it. Things looked not great heading to the Santiago Bernabeu, already 3-0 down from the first leg, but an improbable Juventus comeback had the tie 3-3 on aggregate with extra time looming. But then, oh dear, Lucas Vazquez is bundled over in the box, Michael Oliver awards a stoppage time penalty, and Gianluigi Buffon completely loses his mind. Capovolto il cappuccio amico is apparently Italian for flipped your lid mate, and after literally shoving the referee in the back, a red card was duly brandished. The penalty was predictably scored, and when asked about the whole affair in the press conference afterwards, Buffon simply said that the referee had a rubbish bin instead of a heart. And I mean, that is pure poetry, isn't it? Anyway, interesting that Buffon gets sent off in his air quotes final game while Zinedine Zidane looks on smiling. I wonder if that's going to be at all coincidental later in the video. Number 4, Totti's letter. Rarely, if ever, has a stadium been filled with as much emotion as on the 28th of May 2017, the day Roma said goodbye to Francesco Totti. In fact, there hasn't been an instance in recorded history of that many men all crying at exactly the same time since the first airing of that Futurama episode with Fry's dog, and it still gets me. Anyway, a local lad, a one-club man, one of the greatest talents of his generation, and let's all hold our hands up here, a complete slice. Totti became an absolute icon during his 25 years at the club. After his final game though, a 3-2 win over Genoa, he read a letter to the fans and there wasn't a dry eye in the Stadio Olimpico. Roma's official video of the moment was titled A Stadium of Tears, and I'm not gonna go and read the whole thing to you now, but yeah, it'll get you. Number 3, this does not slip. Look, I know this could just as easily be in a video about the funniest moments in football, ha ha ha, maybe it probably will be, but when you really think about it, it is kinda heartbreaking how Steven Gerrard went out at Liverpool. In his last proper season at the club, like the one after this was like just this weird farewell tour, he lost his footing in a crucial title-deciding match against Chelsea in the third last game of the season. After 16 years at the club, with Liverpool's most coveted prize finally within their grasp, 5 points ahead of Man City, he, as the song goes, fell on his f***ing arse and gave it to Demba Ba. City won their game and then their game in hand, and that was that. Gerrard called the period the worst 3 months of his life and would later... Hang on, wait. Is that Mo Salah? In the Chelsea cellar? Mo Salah played in this game of football against Liverpool. Am I on spice here? Did everybody know this? That can't be right, surely. God, I'm so old. Number 2, Zidane bows out. The stage could not have been more perfectly set for Zinedine Zidane, arguably the finest player of his generation, to bow out in the most glorious way imaginable. The final game of the mercurial playmaker's career was the World Cup final, and his Panenka penalty had already put France ahead after just 7 minutes. But it was how he used his own ahead, get it? That he was ultimately remembered for. Marco Materazzi, who had earlier equalised for Italy, said something to Zidane in extra time, and he absolutely lost his mind. Headbutting his opponent in the chest of all places, and in full view of the ref, he was promptly sent off and forced to watch Italy triumph on penalties. Among their scorers, you guessed it, Materazzi. That image of Zidane walking down the tunnel past the trophy he had almost certainly just cost both his teammates and his nation will forever go down as... Oh wait, no, hang on, yep. There's Gianluigi Buffon smiling. I knew that was going to come back. Number 1, have a word with him. Oh, Gaza, man, the wobble of the England midfielder's bottom lip as he received a yellow card that would have ruled him out of the 1990 World Cup final softened even the hardest of hearts. The Three Lions never made it there, of course, going on to, as previously mentioned, predictably lose on penalties in a semi-final to Germany, but this was the moment a nation fell in love with the precociously talented youngster. Arguably, it's also a moment that so struck a chord with the nation as a whole that it rehabilitated football's image in the country and led to the all-conquering domestic league we have today, but at the time, it was just really sad. I mean, just look at Lineker here, man. He knows. And that's it. That's the video. Thank you so very much for watching and making it all the way till the end. Somebody's keen. While you're here, please do consider subscribing to the FourFourTwo YouTube channel. We've got loads of awesome football content dropping all through the week, as well as an amazing library of documentaries, player interviews, and performance guides as well. Until next time though, thank you once again for watching. I do hope you enjoyed yourself, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.